And we welcome you to the August edition of Eye on the Storm. I'm Randy Payton, the Sports Information Director here at the University of Rio Grande, joined as always by Athletic Director Jeff Lanham. The 2017-18 athletic year is underway, and here it is.
And it is, Randy. Gone. Yes, and it's just great to see all the new faces, see all the returning faces that we've had, and it's a pretty neat part of the year that we've got going on.
One of the familiar faces here on campus is the men's soccer head coach. That would be Scott Morrissey. His team actually had the chance to get the athletic season underway with a win over St. Xavier the other night, and we bring in Coach Morrissey, and national champions in 2015, a runner-up in 2016. What do we expect out of this 2017 squad? Is that a loaded enough question for you?
Hopefully, one of those two. Hopefully, we're playing on the very last day of the season. That's always the goal. It was nice to get the season underway. It was nice to see the support of the students. We had a fantastic crowd for the home opener, which best home opening attendance we've ever had, and just excited to get the ball rolling, so to speak.
So who do you got, Scott, coming up here quickly? You've got some pretty good games preseason. I mean, before we get into the conference play.
Yeah, before conference play, this Saturday we'll play Roosevelt University out of the Chicagoland Conference. Following weekend we'll go down and play University of Mobile. The following weekend we'll go out to Indiana Wesleyan, play Indiana Wesleyans from the Crossroads Conference. After Wesleyan, we've got another Crossroads opponent, Indiana Tech, and then UNOH, and then Lindsey Wilson. So we got a pretty good schedule.
Pretty good schedule.
Yeah.
We mentioned that you finished runner-up last year. A lot of those players are no longer here. Kind of talk about some of the personnel that you've got on this team. You do have some guys back, but there's a lot of new faces on this roster.
Yeah, I think from last year's squad, if you look at the starting 11, I think seven have left graduation, obviously. We got a good nucleus of guys from that team still with us. You know, returners, Danny Carroll, senior, Eduardo Zarita. You know, those two guys played a pretty vital role last season for us. Harry Riley, a starter from last year, he's back. Ben Mendoza, another player with a couple of years of experience under his belt. Derek Corfey played as a freshman last year, got some pretty valuable experience. Kind of late in the season, he had an injury to start the season out. So we got a good nucleus of guys back, some good experience, and then pretty good recruiting class we're pretty excited about, and just trying to take it day by day.
You got off to the good start. We mentioned the 3-0 win over St. Xavier the other night, and you did that despite the fact that you had to throw a lineup out there maybe that you wouldn't normally use because you had some guys that are banged up.
Well, we got a couple guys banged up. You know, Jorge Gunevart is was out, and really don't know his status as of yet from an injury sustained over the summer. And then a couple new faces that had just arrived. So we're still integrating new players, and then at the same time just trying to piece it all together, and again just take it one day at a time.
Scott, you mentioned that had some injuries from the summer time, and what do those? I know you've had a lot of success with with your players playing in the summer. Where do they do? What do they do?
Well, the guys have an opportunity, as all collegiate soccer players have an opportunity to play what's called summer PDL or MPSL. And for the likes of Jorge Gunevart, he had played with Reading, a team in a PDL division. And what that does is it sets those guys up for opportunities to play professionally when their collegiate eligibility has concluded. And George had a pretty miserable summer. About 5 minutes into his first game, he breaks his nose, so he missed about a month, and then sustained a knee injury when he came back. So we're hopeful that we get him back fully fit at some point, and just like I said, just going from there really.
Before we let you go, of course, Rio was in the Mid-South Conference and a great conference for soccer with you guys and Lindsey Wilson. River State's conference is on its way up as well. You talk about you guys, the #1 pick in the league. West Virginia Tech is #2, and I think 5th nationally in the preseason poll. I think a lot of people might underestimate exactly how good the league is.
Well, the league's gotten much, much better. And, West Virginia Tech, 2 years ago when they came into the conference, they'd come off of a couple of years of winning national championships in the USSCAA or whatever that's called. They have an outstanding program, very well coached. They were, I was at the game. I mean, they were unlucky. They could have been in that Final Four last year as well. So they're that good. They're a legitimate team. They had some graduation issues as well. We'll see how they stack up. Another good opponent that was added into the conference was Midway. And that's the old St. Catherine's program, and the St. Catherine's coach, he does an outstanding job. And so they'll be very, very, very good opponent. And then everyone in the conference is getting better. Point Park's always been very, very good. So it's a conference growing and growing in quality.
You guys feel any pressure to come out and perform? Because obviously now Rio, one of the premier teams on a national level year in, year out. Do those guys, the newcomers that come in, do they feel any kind of pressure to get it done immediately? I
mean, I think that's part of, their decision to come to a place like Rio. I mean, they know the history and they know what they're getting themselves involved with, and then it's up to myself and the staff to make sure that they're fully prepared for, giving their best effort. And so, that's the challenge, and you're going to get every opponent is going to give you their best shot. So that's exciting, and there's not a lot of room for error, and so that's why we kind of plug at it one day at a time, and just make sure that we're prepared for that next game, not looking past anyone.
We appreciate your time today. Good luck against Roosevelt on Saturday, and everybody else the rest of the season.
Thank you.
All right, head coach Scott Morrissey of the Rio Grande men's team, his team again off to a 1-0 start and getting ready to play Roosevelt on Saturday night. We had a chance to speak with Rio Grande head volleyball coach Billina Donaldson, her team getting its season underway this weekend down at the Volley in the Mountains tournament at Montreat College down in North Carolina. And let's take a moment and hear from Coach Donaldson about what to expect out of the 2017 Red Storm volleyball team. Randy Payton, the Sports Information Director here at the University of Rio Grande, joined now by head volleyball coach Billina Donaldson. We get ready to start a new year. You guys coming off of a season last year where you won 23 games, but you lost a lot of key players, 2 first-team all-conference players and a second-team all-conference player.
Right. Those seniors that graduated are going to be impossible to replace until probably 3/4 of the way through the season. We'll start seeing some kids step up. Major key players, not just for their position on the floor, but their leadership skills were second to none, and we're just not seeing that yet. It's still really early, and my 2 seniors the kids love following them, and they're very positive in everything they do, but it's just the experience on the floor is not going to be there this year.
I was going to say, not only do you lose the 3 that we talked about, but there were a handful of other girls that did not come back, and there are all kinds of, I guess, space to try to get a starting spot on this team.
Tons of space. That's what we've tried to tell the ladies. This is wide open. You don't have to be a JV player just because you were last year. We don't have the personnel we had last year. Our numbers are way down. Step up and try to take a spot from somebody. I mean, if you want to play, show us you want to play. Don't just want to only play on one team. Do your time on both if you have to.
I think the success that the program has had is kind of shown, despite all those losses, you end up being picked 5th overall and 2nd in the division in the conference.
Yeah, I was surprised by that as well. So hopefully we can show up and be 5th or 2nd. I really hope so.
Kind of talk about, we obviously there are some new faces on this team. Kind of talk about some of them to look for, plus the two seniors that you talked about returning.
Well, I'll start with the seniors, Kylan and Aaliyah. These kids have put in 4 years. They've been starters all 4 of their years, and they work hard on the court. Kylan brings to us such a high spirit that, you know, I've not had a kid the whole time I've been here be as spirited as she is. She's a vocal leader, and Aaliyah just night after night after night shows up and gets it done. You know, she's more of a quiet leader, but she's a heavy hitter for us, and she's our go-to. She's going to have to get a lot of kills this year. Newcomers, really, honestly, what we recruited hard were setters, because I was losing a setter, and I thought I was still going to have young middle and young outside, and went after three really good setters and got all 3 of them. Unfortunately, one of them is not going to get to set. She's going to have to play middle hitter for us, which is a brand new position for her, but she's doing amazing. In our first scrimmage, she did more than we expected of her. And another newcomer is another middle. We came into the season with 0 middles, none. So the other one is Abby Grasso from Memphis. She was recruited just to play JV, and we had to pull her up right away, and she has stepped up and taken that challenge like a champ.
You got a new another young lady too that when you look down the volleyball roster, you see Ohio at the end of everybody's names, but Taylor Carroll from Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah, we're very pleased to have Taylor join us. So we're kind of trying to branch outside of Ohio. Taylor came in kind of nervous. You know, she's the only kid that's not from the state, didn't know anybody coming in. And the kids have just really gravitated to her. She's a fun kid to be around, and she's doing her job so far. And, you know, I also want to mention another kid that had to step up, who was a JV player and was not expected to play and now has to play all the time, and that's Kennison Donaldson. She's stepping up into right side opposite of Aaliyah. So she's a great blocker, really good blocker, and hopefully she gets that job done. We're not looking for a lot of kills out of her. Any kills she gets will just be a bonus.
You've got this young team, and now you try to get the job done early on in the season on the road. When you talk about the schedule, you're headed to Montreat, you're headed to California, a little bit of road travel for the Red Storm.
Yeah, we didn't expect, again, when I did my schedule, I didn't expect to have this inexperience with us, but we're going to throw them to the Lions and see if any of them come back, I guess.
Talk about what to expect out of the conference. Obviously, like we said, you guys were picked 5th overall and 2nd in the division, but there's some pretty good teams in this league.
This is a very tough league for volleyball. However, I have talked to a few of the coaches, and it seems that they're having the same problems with people leaving. I don't know how their recruiting year went, but I ran into some of them out in the recruiting, out, you know, in Louisville or in Columbus, and they were having the same problems. So we'll see.
It starts this weekend in North Carolina at Montreat. Coach, good luck this season.
Thank you, Randy.
Head coach Billina Donaldson of the Rio Grande Red Storm volleyball team. We'll have more of Eye on the Storm in a moment. And we welcome you back to the August edition of Eye on the Storm. Randy Payton, the Sports Information Director, joined again by Athletic Director Jeff Lanham. We talk about the 17-18 athletic year getting underway, and kind of got a laugh out of cross-country head coach Bob Willie yesterday, the River States Conference releasing its preseason poll for men's and women's cross-country. And Rio Grande, there you can see the men's poll right on top, despite the fact that the program was kind of ravaged a little bit by graduation.
Exactly, and both sides, men and the women.
There you see the women's poll.
Yeah, he's saying they're going to, well, Coach Willie, you got to give him credit. He didn't think going in to the conference meet that he had a chance of winning. And he does a very good job. He knows how to get those runners to max at the right time, and he's been doing it for a number of years. And you know, with that said, he is. They listen to him. They do a good job. You know? So we'll see. He does have his work cut out for him this year.
Probably the most surprising part about all of that is maybe on the women's side, where, believe it or not, despite all their efforts throughout the off season, I think they only brought in one new recruit for women's cross country, so they were basically set to rely on those that they had coming back. And then there were a couple of kids who were juniors last year who decided, for whatever reason, more often than not academically,
Right.
To not come back. And he's kind of now struggling to have enough to have a team, so to
Well,
speak.
and I think that's the advantage of having 70 participants in cross country, track and field, because now he can go in. He's talking to some of the 800 runners to come in and compete for him with the cross country. So, you know, I think they'll be okay with that number wise, but I don't. He's going to have his work cut out for him. And again, you know, we just had Coach Morrissey here, and everybody's shooting for them. Same thing's happening here in the conference with men's and women's cross country, because everybody's shooting for us again in men's and women's.
Conference also releasing its preseason golf coaches poll, and Rio Grande, first year golf, actually reviving the program for the first time since the 1970s, but picked last on both sides of that. And, you know, that's not really surprising given the fact that nobody else in the conference, and for that fact, head coach Keith Wilson doesn't know exactly what he's going to have.
Right.
But I would be shocked if Rio finishes last in either of those two divisions.
Well, and the thing about this new program, I saw some of the remarks that the coaches made as they were voting, and many of them said, we know nothing about Rio Grande. We don't know what it's going to be. Well, he's got all first-year players, so there's nobody that's played college golf before. He's got a couple of transfers. So I take that back. There has been one. Yes, there has been one. He's got one with experience.
Well documented.
Yeah. That's just a freshman. So he's had 1 year of competition. So he feels pretty good. He says, I didn't think we would be as good as we are at this point in the game. And he did go last spring to the conference tournament in Lansing, Kentucky, and he does have an idea who has got the best and you know, involved with that. So he knows what he's shooting for anyway. So he feels pretty good.
Right.
Feels pretty good.
Point Park, the #1 pick in the men's golf poll in the conference, and Midway, both of those teams, the defending champions in the league, picked #1 in the preseason here in 2017-18. Bowling's also going to get off to a start by the time that our next show will air, and that happens on the 16th of September. And you talk about another program where the coaches, despite the fact that the program is new, they think that they're going to get off to a good start. They've recruited very well, and that's Brett Little and his bowling club.
That's right.
His squad.
Brett Little and his assistant,
Phil
Carl.
Yep.
Yes, those guys, we've talked about them before on this show. Those guys have been everywhere, and people are really excited about the bowling. They've already been up at Skyline Lanes in Galplice. They have been practicing on their own. The players have, and they are pretty excited about what they've got going on, and it'll be excited to see where they where they finish up. And we don't have the NAI does not have a national championship yet. That's moving in that direction. We are a emerging sport in bowling now, but that's moving into a championship sport. In fact, I'm going to be on the national committee to help move that along, to help be involved with that through the NAI.
Well, we talk about bowling getting off to a start in September. Another program that we have here in the fall is women's soccer. They get their season underway on Friday night here at home against Indiana Wesleyan. And joining us here in the studio is head coach Tony Daniels. His squad in his second year. You guys 3-13-2 last year. You kind of took some lumps, but you got through it, and I guess it had to be a learning experience on your part.
Yes, it was. I think coaching men and coaching women are two different things. I think I'm not reinventing the wheel, but it's just a different mindset. And yeah, I took my lump, so to speak, coming from a winning program, 25 years with the men's soccer and Scott Morrissey, and You know,
Can I interrupt right
Yeah.
here? But you weren't always that. You were there when you struggled early.
Correct.
And it's a growing process. It takes place. And
it took us to well, when we finally went ahead and got to the national tournament
Right.
was 2000, and ever since that we haven't looked back
Right,
with the
right.
men's. And you know, I think I said it last year. It's recultivating a landscape. It's a mindset, and it's understanding there's more than just soccer. It's bringing in players and trying to mentor them through life itself. So yeah, it was a great experience for me. Almost put me somewhere else, but yeah, it was good. But you know, I'm really looking forward to it this year. I got a new graduate assistant in, Luis Filo, who actually played for me, and he's our first-year GA, and then Zach Breath, who's our second-year GA, and then we've brought in about 12 girls this year, and we're really looking forward to it. It's been a totally different mindset from the coaching staff. We've become more efficient, and it's actually enjoyable.
That was going to be my next question. This is more so than last year. This is your team now, and through attrition and graduation, a lot of folks gone, a lot of new faces. I know you said you kind of felt ahead of the game, so to speak, in the fact that you're now dealing with a team that had more girls that basically had knowledge of what you wanted done,
Correct.
and rather than have to reteach from the start.
Correct, and I think every coach goes through that when you switch jobs and transfer to another program. It's a natural process. But yeah, these girls are on board with what we're trying to do, and even the older girls that were here, and they've been through 3 coaches, me being the third.
Wow.
You know, so it's a different mindset. But no, it's great. We're looking forward to it. It's not where I want to be right now, but it's definitely, you know, last year was the foundation that we went ahead and had, and this year is that next plateau.
What have you seen out of this squad through your first, I guess you had 2 scrimmages, an inter-squad scrimmage as well, and now you get ready for, as we said, the season opener on Friday night?
Yeah, you know, we played that first scrimmage against UNOH, who were the defending national champions. And
number 1 in the country,
number
by the
one
way.
in the
Came
country,
out the poll
yeah.
that day before.
So I think for the lot of girls, it was getting the monkey off their back, so to speak, of first game jitters. But we've stayed true to our teachings and what we're trying to go ahead with these girls. There's energy, there's passion, their athleticism. I think it's very, very fun group of girls to be with, and you know, they're eager to get out there every day.
I think it speaks well, too, to maybe what some of the other folks in the league think about you. You guys were near the bottom last year, but yet in the preseason poll this year, now you're up in the middle of it, and I think number 5 in the
Correct.
in the preseason poll. So obviously other people in the league are expecting better things out of you as well.
Yeah, and once again, I think it goes with that mindset, and it starts with the coaches. You know, you lead by example, and I don't want to be torn or anything like that or show instability. I want to go ahead and let these girls actually enjoy the fruits of what they're doing on a day in, day out basis. And, you know, winners breed winners, and it's very infectious, and that's what we're trying to do with this program and tie it in with the collegiate experience.
Before we let you go, we asked Coach Morrissey, what's your take on how strong the league is? I know on the women's side in soccer, still I think some strides to go for the league in terms of a national presence.
Yeah, I agree with that, and at the last coaches meeting, that's what we discussed. But in saying that, a lot of the teams now are starting to venture outside and playing bigger competition. For instance, Point Park University out of Pittsburgh, they're playing Spring Arbor, who's number 2 in the country. And in order for our conference to grow, you need the teams to go ahead and play against better teams. And that's the only way that we're going to get recognition on a national level.
Well, I know you're a busy man. We appreciate you stopping by.
Oh, not a problem.
For a couple
Love
of
to
minutes.
come back.
We'll have you back. Most
Okay.
certainly. Good luck on Friday.
Good
Thank
luck
you very
Friday.
much, guys. Thank
All
you.
right, that's head coach Tony Daniels of the Rio Grande women's soccer team, and that leaves us just enough time, Jeff, to kind of discuss a very busy schedule coming up. Of course, we mentioned we've got women's soccer here Friday night, Indiana Wesleyan. Volleyball gets its season underway down at Montreat. The men are back home on the 26th, and then boy, you look at the calendar in September,
It's
full almost every day.
You know, the one thing we want to talk about, and I don't know that we'll be back before we do that, is the Patty Forgy, which we always do. It's the cross-country event that we have, and that is
September the 23rd.
September 23rd. It's the 47th year that we've had this cross-country, which Coach Willie said this morning there's only one other one that's been longer in the country. So it's really a neat opportunity for people to come around and see our campus and to run a course.
You got that going on the 23rd here on campus. On the 1st and the 2nd of September, the Emily Cooper tournament in volleyball. That's going to wrap it up for Eye on the Storm here, the August version, and we appreciate you tuning in, and we'll see you next month here on Eye on the Storm.